The height meter shows 8,000 feet. Lieutenant Robert Bob Bram looks carefully through the clear front window of his Bristol Beaufighter airplane as it flies through the dark sky over the North Sea. It's 2:47 in the morning on December 14th, 1941. His navigator, Flight Sergeant William Gregory, bends over his maps in the tight back section. His pencil scratches on paper as he figures out their location for the third time in 20 minutes. Gregory's hands are shaking, not because he's scared, but because of the terrible cold coming through the airplane's thin metal walls. The temperature outside is negative 15 degrees Celsius. Inside, it's barely any warmer. His fingers, even wrapped in thick gloves, can barely hold the pencil. He's supposed to guide them back to RAF Wittering after a useless patrol looking for German bombers over the English Channel. But something is wrong with his math, terribly wrong. The numbers don't match. According to his navigation method, which considers wind speed and direction, they should be getting close to the English coast near Norfolk. But his stopwatch says they've been flying for 43 minutes since turning toward home. At their flying speed of 280 miles per hour, that puts them... Gregory's stomach drops. That puts him at least 60 miles past where they should be. He's made a huge mistake. Instead of figuring out a westward direction to make up for the northeastern wind pushing them off course, he's done the opposite. He's added degrees when he should have subtracted them. It's the kind of mistake that gets air crews killed, the kind that ends with a Beaufighter crashing into the cold North Sea with no one ever knowing what happened. Sticks, where the heck are we? Bram's voice crackles through the intercom, worry clear even through the static. We should be seeing the coast by now. Gregory opens his mouth to confess his mistake, to tell his pilot they're hopelessly lost over enemy-controlled waters. But before he can speak, Bram's voice cuts through again, sharp and urgent. Wait, lights straight ahead, multiple lights. What neither of them knows right now is that Gregory's math mistake hasn't doomed them. It's about to give British intelligence the location of one of Nazi Germany's most secret airfields, a discovery that will change the course of the air war and save thousands of Allied lives. By December 1941, the Luftwaffe's night bombing attacks against Britain have turned into a deadly game of cat and mouse. After the devastating Blitz of 1940 to 1941, German bomber crews have improved their tactics. They no longer attack in huge formations that British radar can easily spot. Instead, they operate from secret forward airfields along the occupied European coast, launching small groups of aircraft on exact night raids against British cities and industrial targets. British air intelligence knows these forward bases exist. They have to. German bombers are appearing over British targets with disturbing frequency. Yet reconnaissance flights over known Luftwaffe airfields in France, Belgium, and the Netherlands show normal activity levels. The math is simple and scary. The Germans are operating from hidden airfields that British intelligence hasn't found. The results of this intelligence gap are measured in blood and destroyed buildings. Between September and December 1941, German night raiders kill 1,147 British civilians and destroy countless factories, warehouses, and infrastructure. RAF Fighter Command throws everything at the problem. They increase night patrols. They set up more radar stations along the coast. They send reconnaissance aircraft on dangerous daytime missions over occupied Europe, searching for the hidden bases. The results are awful. In 3 months of intensive searching, RAF reconnaissance has found only 2 previously unknown German airfields, both minor facilities. Meanwhile, German bombers continue their raids without being stopped. The Luftwaffe's operational security is nearly perfect. They've learned from earlier mistakes. Their secret airfields keep strict radio silence. They use camouflage netting and fake buildings to trick aerial reconnaissance. They even rotate aircraft between bases to prevent British intelligence from tracking specific units. Air Chief Marshal Sir Sholto Douglas, commanding RAF Fighter Command, faces a strategic nightmare. His night fighters are flying blind, literally and figuratively. Without knowing where German bombers are launching from, his aircraft waste precious fuel and time patrolling empty stretches of the North Sea and English Channel. The kill ratio tells the sad story. In November 1941, RAF night fighters fly 847 combat patrols. They achieve only 12 confirmed kills of German bombers. That's a success rate of 1.4%. For every German bomber destroyed, British night fighters burn through 18,000 gallons of aviation fuel and risk multiple air crews in dangerous night operations. The expert opinion within RAF intelligence is unanimous and depressing. Without better radar coverage, without more advanced detection equipment, without signals intelligence breakthroughs, they cannot locate the secret German airfields. The technology simply doesn't exist yet. Squadron leader Derek Jackson, one of the RAF's top radar experts, writes in a classified memo dated November 28, 1941, the current generation of airborne radar cannot reliably detect ground installations from operationally safe altitudes. We are in effect asking our air crews to search for needles in a haystack the size of continental Europe. The stakes extend beyond the immediate tactical problem. British codebreakers at Bletchley Park are making progress breaking German military communications, but they need physical evidence to validate their intelligence. If they can locate a secret German airfield and observe its operations, they can cross-reference that data with decoded German messages. This would confirm their code-breaking methods are accurate and help them break additional German codes. Prime Minister Winston Churchill himself is demanding answers. In a heated war cabinet meeting on December 10, 1941, he pounds the table and declares, "We are being struck by an invisible enemy. This is intolerable. I want those airfields found, and I want them found now." 4 days later, Flight Sergeant William Gregory will accidentally give Churchill exactly what he's demanding, though not in any way the Prime Minister or anyone else could have expected. William Gregory is nobody's idea of a hero. At 23 years old, he's a former grocery clerk from Nottingham who joined the RAF in 1939 because it seemed more exciting than stacking tins of beans. He barely passed his navigation training course at RAF Cranwell, graduating 47th out of 52 students. His instructors noted in his file adequate mathematical skills, tends to rush calculations, requires additional supervision. That assessment is generous. Gregory knows he's not a natural navigator. Unlike some of his classmates who seem to instinctively understand celestial navigation and dead reckoning, he has to work twice as hard to achieve half the results. He carries a worn notebook filled with formulas and correction factors, constantly referring to it during flights because he can't keep the calculations straight in his head. His pilot, Lieutenant Robert Bram, is his opposite in almost every way. At 20, Bram is already an ace with 7 confirmed kills. He's cool under pressure, decisive, and possesses the kind of natural flying ability that makes instructors shake their heads in wonder. He's also unusually patient with his navigator. While other pilots in the squadron complain about their navigator's mistakes, Bram never does. He seems to understand that Gregory is doing his best, even when his best falls short. On the night of December 14th, 1941, they're flying their 3rd patrol of the week. It's boring, exhausting work. They take off from RAF Wittering at 11:30 p.m., climb to patrol altitude, and spend hours flying search patterns over the North Sea, hunting for German bombers that may or may not be there. The cold is brutal. The darkness is complete. The only light comes from the faint glow of the instrument panel and the occasional glimpse of stars through breaks in the clouds. Gregory's moment of understanding comes not through brilliance, but through desperate rechecking of his work. As Bram reports seeing lights ahead, Gregory frantically recalculates their position. He works backward from their takeoff time, their air speeds, their headings. He factors in the wind data he received from the weather officer before takeoff. And then he sees it, his error. He's been compensating for the wind in the wrong direction for the entire return leg. His first reaction is pure panic. They're not approaching England. They're flying deeper into enemy-controlled airspace. They're somewhere over the Netherlands or northern Germany. Those lights Bram is seeing aren't British. They're German. His second reaction changes everything. If those are German lights, and they're this far from the known German airfields, and there are multiple lights suggesting a major installation, Then they've found something important. Bob. Gregory's voice is tight as he speaks into the intercom. Those aren't our lights. We're over enemy territory. I made a navigation error. We're approximately 60 miles east of where we should be. There's a long pause. Then Bram's voice, surprisingly calm. Well then, Sticks, let's take a closer look, shall we? Bram banks the Beaufighter into a gentle turn, reducing altitude to 6,000 feet. Gregory's heart hammers against his ribs. Everything about this is wrong. They're deep in enemy airspace with no authorization, no backup, and barely enough fuel to make it home. If they turn back immediately, if German fighters scramble, they're dead. If German anti-aircraft batteries open fire, they're dead. If they run out of fuel over the North Sea, they're dead. But Bram keeps descending 5,000 feet for 1,000 feet. The lights grow clearer. Gregory can see them now from his rear-facing position, craning his neck to look past the Beaufighter's tail. Not just lights, dozens of lights arranged in patterns that can only mean one thing, a major airfield. I'm seeing runway lights, Bram reports, his voice steady despite the insanity of what they're doing. Multiple runways, large installation. There are aircraft on the ground. I count at least 20 aircraft, maybe more. Gregory fumbles with his navigation equipment, trying to get an exact position fix. His hands are shaking worse than ever, but now it's from adrenaline rather than cold. He takes a bearing on the lights, cross-references it with his calculated position, and makes careful notes. They need to be able to find this place again. They need to be able to tell intelligence exactly where it is. There are bombers down there, Bram continues. Heinkel 111s, Junkers 88s. This is a major bomber base, Sticks. This is exactly what intelligence has been looking for. The Beaufighter makes a wide orbit around the airfield at 3,500 feet. Gregory takes more bearings, more notes. He can see the layout now. 3 runways arranged in a triangle pattern, dozens of aircraft dispersed around the perimeter, hangars, fuel storage tanks, barracks buildings. This isn't a forward operating base. This is a full-scale Luftwaffe bomber station. And then the searchlights snap on. Brilliant white beams lance into the darkness, sweeping the sky, searching for the intruder. Anti-aircraft tracers arc upward, bright red chains of death reaching toward them. The Germans have finally realized they have an uninvited guest. Time to leave. Bram shoves the throttles forward and throws the Beaufighter into a diving turn. The aircraft shudders as flak bursts explode nearby, close enough that Gregory can hear the sharp crack of detonations over the engine roar. They're running for their lives now, racing westward at full speed, the German searchlights and tracers falling away behind them. Gregory keeps working through the escape, refining his calculations, making absolutely certain of their position, because he knows what's going to happen when they land. He's going to have to explain how they ended up over enemy territory. He's going to have to admit his navigation error. He's going to face an inquiry, possibly a court-martial, definitely the end of his flying career. But he's also going to hand British intelligence the biggest intelligence breakthrough of the air war. And that makes everything worth it. They land at RAF Wittering at 4:23 a.m. with their fuel tanks nearly empty. Bram taxis to their dispersal area and shuts down the engines. For a moment, both men sit in silence, processing what just happened. Then Bram's voice comes through the intercom one last time. Sticks, whatever happens, we did the right thing. Remember that. The debriefing begins immediately. The intelligence officer, Flight Lieutenant James Harrington, listens to their report with increasing skepticism. When Gregory admits his navigation error, Harrington's expression hardens. When Bram describes the airfield they discovered, Harrington's skepticism turns to outright disbelief. Let me understand this correctly, Harrington says, his voice dripping with disdain. You flew 60 miles off course due to a navigation error. You then deliberately penetrated enemy airspace without authorization. You descended to low altitude over what you claim is a secret German airfield. And you expect me to believe this airfield exists based on a visual sighting by a crew that was hopelessly lost? Sir, I have the exact coordinates, Gregory protests, pushing his notebook across the table. I took multiple bearings. I can show you exactly where it is. Harrington barely glances at the notebook. Flight Sergeant, You've already admitted you made a catastrophic navigation error. Why should I trust any of your calculations? For all I know, you saw a Dutch civilian airfield and mistook it for a German bomber base. The meeting escalates. Bram, normally calm, raises his voice. I know what I saw, sir. That was a major Luftwaffe installation. There were at least 20 bombers on the ground. At night, from 3,500 feet, while being shot at, Harrington shakes his head. Your report is noted, Lieutenant, but I cannot recommend any action based on such unreliable intelligence. You're both grounded, pending an investigation into this unauthorized incursion into enemy airspace. The news spreads through the squadron by breakfast. Gregory faces a mixture of sympathy and ridicule from his fellow navigators. Some believe his story. Others think he's trying to cover up his mistake with a fantastic tale. The consensus among the senior officers is clear. Gregory screwed up, and now he's making excuses. But one person believes them. Wing Commander Basil Embry, the station commander, has a reputation as a maverick. He's flown dozens of dangerous missions himself. He understands that sometimes the best intelligence comes from accidents and mistakes. When he reads Harrington's dismissive report, he makes a decision that will change everything. Embry calls a meeting in his office on December 15th. Present are Bram, Gregory, Harrington, Squadron Leader Derek Jackson from RAF Intelligence, and Group Captain Victor Beamish, the sector commander. The room is tense from the moment they assemble. Gentlemen, Embry begins, we have a potential intelligence breakthrough, and I will not allow it to be dismissed because it came about through unorthodox means. Harrington immediately objects. Sir, with respect, we cannot base operational decisions on unreliable sightings from a crew that was lost. That's exactly my point, Jackson adds. We've been searching for these secret airfields for months. Every credible lead has turned into a dead end. Now we're supposed to believe that a navigation error accidentally led to the discovery of a major German base. The odds against that are astronomical. The room erupts. Voices overlap as multiple officers argue simultaneously. Harrington insists that authorizing a reconnaissance mission based on Gregory's coordinates will be a waste of resources. Jackson argues that even if the airfield exists, the Germans will have moved everything after being spotted. Beamish worries about risking valuable reconnaissance aircraft on what might be a wild goose chase. Embry lets them argue for 5 minutes. Then he slams his hand on the desk, silencing the room. Enough. Here's what we're going to do. We will send a single reconnaissance Spitfire to Gregory's coordinates tomorrow morning. If the airfield is there, we've made the biggest intelligence discovery of the year. If it's not, we've wasted one reconnaissance sortie. That's a risk I'm willing to take. He turns to Gregory. Flight Sergeant, you'd better be right about this, because if you're wrong, your career is over. Gregory swallows hard. I'm right, sir. I stake my life on it. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're bringing you the untold stories of military history that changed the world 3 times a week. Don't miss the next one. December 16th, 1941. Dawn clear and cold over eastern England. At RAF Benson, Flight Lieutenant Anthony Tony Hill climbs into a Spitfire PR Mark IV, a reconnaissance variant stripped of weapons and painted in distinctive pale blue camouflage. His mission is simple. Fly to the coordinates provided by Gregory, photograph whatever is there, and return. He's been briefed on the controversy surrounding this mission. Half the intelligence staff thinks it's a waste of time. The other half hopes desperately that Gregory is right. Hill takes off at 8:47 a.m. He climbs to 28,000 feet and sets course for the Dutch coast. At that altitude, he's above the effective range of most German anti-aircraft guns. The sky is crystal clear, perfect conditions for reconnaissance photography. He reaches Gregory's coordinates at 9:34 a.m. What he sees through his viewfinder makes him forget to breathe for a moment. There, exactly where Gregory said it would be, is a massive airfield. Hill makes 3 passes, his cameras clicking away, capturing every detail. He counts 43 aircraft on the ground, including bombers, fighters, and transport planes. He photographs the runways, the hangars, the fuel storage facilities, the barracks. He captures everything. When Hill lands back at RAF Benson at 11:12 a.m., he's grinning like a schoolboy. It's there, he tells the intelligence officers who rush to meet him. Everything they said, it's all there. This is the real thing. The photographs are developed within hours. They're rushed to RAF Intelligence Headquarters at Bentley Priory. By evening, they're on Air Chief Marshal Douglas's desk. The analysis confirms Hill's initial assessment. This is Gilze-Rijen airfield in the Netherlands, a major Luftwaffe bomber base that British intelligence had no idea existed. German records captured after the war reveal that Gilze-Rijen was home to Camp Jeschwader 30, a bomber wing equipped with Junkers 88s that had been conducting night raids against Britain since September 1941. The impact of this discovery is immediate and profound. Within 24 hours, RAF Bomber Command is planning a major raid on Gilze-Rijen. But first, British intelligence wants to observe the base, to learn its operational patterns, to identify when bombers launch and return. For 3 weeks, reconnaissance aircraft photograph Gilze-Rijen daily. British signals intelligence monitors its radio traffic. The intelligence picture becomes crystal clear. This is one of the Luftwaffe's primary night bombing bases for operations against Britain. On January 7, 1942, RAF Bomber Command strikes. 48 Bristol Blenheim bombers, escorted by Spitfires, attack Gilze-Rijen in broad daylight. The raid is devastatingly successful. Bombs destroy 2 hangars, damage the main runway, and destroy or damage 17 German aircraft on the ground. German casualties include 23 dead and 41 wounded. More importantly, Gilze-Rijen is knocked out of operation for 11 days. But the real value of discovering Gilze-Rijen extends far beyond that single raid. British intelligence now knows what to look for. They analyze the characteristics that made Gilze-Rijen an effective secret base, its location near the coast but not directly on it, its camouflage techniques, its dispersal patterns. They use this knowledge to identify 3 more secret German airfields within the next month: Leeuwarden in the Netherlands, Soesterberg near Utrecht, and Schiphol near Amsterdam. The statistics tell the story of how this discovery changes the air war. In the 3 months before Gilze-Rijen is discovered, German night bombers fly 347 sorties against British targets with a loss rate of only 3.7%. In the 3 months after the discovery and subsequent raids on the secret airfields, German sorties dropped to 198, and their loss rate climbs to 8.4%. British night fighters, now able to patrol near known German airfields, achieve a kill ratio improvement of 127%. The human cost is equally significant. British civilian casualties from German night bombing dropped from an average of 416 per month in the September to December 1941 period to 187 per month in the January to March 1942 period. That's 687 British lives saved in just 3 months, directly attributable to the disruption of German bomber operations following the discovery of their secret airfields. German records provide the enemy perspective. Hermann Klaus Hubner, a bomber pilot with Camp Jeschwader 30 based at Gilze-Rijen, wrote in his diary after the January 7th raid, "The British have found us. Our sanctuary is no longer safe. We thought we were invisible, but somehow they have pierced our veil of secrecy. Morale is suffering. The men know that we are now vulnerable, that the British bombers will return." In return they did. Between January and June 1942, RAF Bomber Command conducts 17 separate raids on the 4 secret airfields discovered as a result of Gregory's navigation error. These raids destroy or damage 127 German aircraft on the ground, kill or wound 342 German personnel, and force the Luftwaffe to divert significant resources to air defense that would otherwise have been used for offensive operations. For Gregory and Bram, the discovery brings vindication, but also continued danger. They're not grounded. Instead, they're assigned to continue flying night patrols, now armed with knowledge of where German bombers are operating from. On February 23, 1942, Bram shoots down a Heinkel 111 bomber near Gilze-Rijen. It's his 8th kill. He will go on to become one of the RAF's top night fighter aces with 29 confirmed kills by war's end. Gregory continues as Bram's navigator through 1942 and into 1943. Despite his rocky start, he becomes one of the RAF's most reliable navigators. His commanding officers note in his later evaluations, has developed into an exceptional navigator. His attention to detail and willingness to double-check his work makes him a model for other navigators to emulate. The ultimate validation comes from an unexpected source. In March 1942, Gregory received a letter from a bomber pilot he's never met, Flight Lieutenant Michael Stevens. Stevens writes, "I was part of the raid on Gilze-Rijen on January 7th. We destroyed German bombers that would have killed British civilians. We disrupted operations that would have cost British lives. Because of your discovery, because of your willingness to admit your mistake and report what you found, my crew and I came home safely from that mission. Because of you, we came home." If you're enjoying this story of how one man's mistake changed military history, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who loves military history. Your support helps us continue bringing these incredible stories to life. The full scope of William Gregory's accidental discovery isn't revealed until after the war, when British intelligence declassifies its files on the secret German airfields in 1949. Historians are stunned by the cascading effects of that single navigation error on December 14, 1941. The discovery of Gilze-Rijen directly led to the identification of 17 additional secret or camouflaged German airfields across occupied Europe by the end of 1942. The intelligence methodology developed from analyzing Gilze-Rijen, understanding how the Germans selected and camouflaged their secret bases, became standard practice for Allied photo reconnaissance interpreters. This methodology was later applied to identifying German V-weapon sites, submarine pens, and radar installations. The production numbers are staggering. Between January 1942 and May 1945, Allied bombers conducted 347 raids on airfields first identified using the techniques developed from the Gilze-Rijen discovery. These raids destroyed or damaged 4,127 German aircraft on the ground, killed or captured 11,543 German personnel, and disrupted countless bombing missions that would have targeted Allied cities and military installations. Air Chief Marshal Sir Sholto Douglas, in his post-war memoirs published in 1963, wrote, "The discovery of Gilze-Rijen was a turning point in the air war over Europe. It demonstrated that German operational security, while excellent, was not impenetrable. It gave us the tools and the confidence to systematically hunt down and neutralize the Luftwaffe's secret infrastructure. And it all came about because a young navigator made a mistake and had the courage to report what he found." The modern legacy of Gregory's discovery extends into current military doctrine. The principle that intelligence breakthroughs often come from unexpected sources, including mistakes and accidents, is now taught at military intelligence schools worldwide. The U.S. Air Force Intelligence School at Goodfellow Air Force Base includes the Gilze-Rijen discovery in its curriculum as a case study in the importance of reporting all observations, even those resulting from errors. As for Gregory himself, he refused all attempts to make him famous. After the war, he returned to Nottingham and resumed working in retail, managing a grocery store until his retirement in 1979. He rarely spoke about his wartime service. When reporters occasionally tracked him down for interviews, he deflected credit to Bram, to the reconnaissance pilots who confirmed his discovery, to the bomber crews who struck the German airfields. In 1988, at age 70, Gregory gave his only extensive interview to an RAF historian. His final words on the subject capture the humility that defined his character. "I made a mistake, a potentially fatal mistake. But Bob Bram had the sense to investigate what we found, and Wing Commander Embry had the courage to believe us. I was just a navigator who got the math wrong. They were the real heroes." William Gregory died in 1994 at age 76. His obituary in the Nottingham Post mentioned his wartime service in a single sentence. But in the archives of RAF intelligence, in the history books that chronicle the air war over Europe, his name appears alongside the greatest intelligence breakthroughs of World War II. All because one cold December night he subtracted when he should have added and accidentally changed the course of history.